Hello, hello, hello. How are you? I hope that you are well. I'm hoping that you can hear me. So if you're here, you can put something in the chat here saying that you can hear me. So let's see. All right, I'm going to get started. I don't want to hold this up too much longer. So we are going to get started. Welcome to From Suspecting to Accepting, learning how to cope with the full spectrum of emotions before accepting a child's autism diagnosis. There's a special bonus at the end of this webinar, so be sure to stay to the end of the webinar for a special offer on how I can help you gain the emotional support and resources you need to help you with managing your child's autism diagnosis. By the end of this webinar, you will know 3 powerful and effective ways to cope with the mental and emotional stress that is common for parents with children on the autism spectrum. The truth is, dealing with your child's autism diagnosis is a very stressful experience that you should not go through alone. But if you don't reach out to the right person, it can make the process even more difficult. This webinar is for you if you have a child who recently received an autism spectrum diagnosis. You want to know exactly what you need to do to properly support and care for your child on the autism spectrum. You want to stop feeling confused and alone and finally get the emotional support you need. Your top 4 challenges as a mom of a child on the autism spectrum. 1, denial, which keeps you from accepting your child's diagnosis. 2, anger, which keeps you from taking control of the situation to get your child the help they need. 3, guilt, which keeps you feeling depressed because you are blaming yourself and have no one to talk to. 4, grief, which keeps you anxious about the quality of life your child will have. I get it. I've dealt with the same emotions that you're feeling right now. But help is on the way. I've discovered the key to successfully navigating life as a mom with a child on the autism spectrum. But first, let me do a quick intro. I am Bernadette Henry, and I'm a mental health and emotional wellness coach. I work with busy moms in 3 areas. 1, coping with their emotions after their child is diagnosed with ASD. 2, managing their self-care. 3, gaining back their self-confidence. I'm also a wife and a mom of 3 energetic boys, one of which is on the autism spectrum. This is my son, Yaron, who is on the autism spectrum. Let me tell you our story. So, he was born, normal pregnancy, normal. He came out VBAC, so that's like a vaginal birth after C-section. So he came out normal time, everything was fine. He was developing in the normal milestones according to me and maybe the doctors. So at this time I was going to a program called Room to Grow, and I used to meet with a social worker every 3 months, and we used to discuss, any developmental milestones and just kind of check up on the mom to see how mom is doing and managing this new child. And at one point when he was around 2 years old, she said to me, hey, you should get him evaluated for early intervention. I really didn't know what it was and why she was suggesting it, but I guess she felt at the time he wasn't saying enough words. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do it. But then a couple of months later, I went to another appointment. She said, hey, did you do early intervention? I said, no, I didn't. So I said, you know what, let me just do early intervention. So I set up the appointment. The first appointment, they came to my house and they went through their test. And in the test, he had to identify different things. And even though he wasn't really talking to them, he was able to give them what they needed as far as the answers to the questions. So that part of the test was done, and then I had to bring him to the center for another round of tests. And everything went through, and then I received a letter stating that he was not eligible for services. So at that point, I didn't really think of anything of it, and life just went on. And I didn't recognize any signs until maybe he was 3 years old when he was in school, and he was hitting the children, he was running away, he was doing bad things at home, so he was falling out. It was extreme, and with autism, it's really called meltdowns. And he was hitting himself on the floor, on the walls. He would like break dishes, break tablets. It was a lot of things going on. So, and then I'm running back and forth to the school because they're seeing behavior problems, and I just didn't know what was going on. So finally, I guess the next year he got into another class, and the teacher suggested, hey, you should do child study. And child study in New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, that's kind of how you get the school involved to get your child the IEP. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. He got accepted, and they, gave him services. But what ended up happening is at the end of the school year, he was banging his head on the bathtub. And he one day banged his head, got a gash. I had to take him for stitches at the hospital. So a couple of days or the next day, I said, you know what, I have to figure out something's going on. And I decided to go to a clinic, and I spoke with a social worker or therapist and give her the signs. She said, hey, sounds like he has Asperger's. And I'm like, what is Asperger's? So that's when I started to do my research to find out what Asperger's was. And basically what Asperger's is high functioning autism. But at the end of the day, autism is autism, low functioning, medium functioning, high functioning. It's all autism, which is why they call it the autism spectrum, and it's no longer Asperger's. But it's commonly and widely used today because people still refer to it as Asperger's. So he received his, we spoke to her, and then 6 months later, he had a neurodevelopmental exam, and that's when we received the official diagnosis. So, what is your number one challenge with managing your child's autism diagnosis right now? Write it down. I'm giving you a second to think about it. By the end of this webinar, you will know 3 powerful and effective ways to cope with the mental and emotional stress that is common for parents with children on the autism spectrum. According to the Autism Society, a child's autism diagnosis affects every member of the family in different ways. Parents and caregivers must now place their primary focus on focus on helping their child with ASD, which may put stress on their marriage, other children, work, finances, and personal relationships and responsibilities. Parents now have to shift much of their resources of time and money towards providing treatment and interventions for their child to the exclusion of other priorities. The needs of a child with ASD complicates familial relationships, especially with siblings. In addition, spouses often cannot spend time alone due to their extreme parenting demands and their lack of qualified staff to watch a child with autism in their absence. Does this sound familiar? Feel confused about how to successfully manage life now that your child has been diagnosed with being on the spectrum? Imagine what it would feel like if you woke up every day free from stress, knowing that you have emotional support and resources to help you provide the best care possible for your child on the spectrum. Introducing the BTH Stress Management Method for Autism Moms, my exclusive 3-step system for managing the mental and emotional stress that is common for parents with children on the autism spectrum. My exclusive three-step system for managing the mental and emotional stress that is common for parents with children on the autism spectrum. One, self-awareness. Two, self-care. Three, support. Self-awareness. Know what your emotional triggers and weaknesses are so that you can be fully aware of your own mental state and then be able to properly respond to it. Two, self-care. Know what steps you need to take to stay in a good mental space or get back to one. Three, support. Know who to talk to when you are under stress and where to get the help you need. The top four emotions parents experience when your child is diagnosed with autism. One, denial, the emotion preventing acceptance of the diagnosis. Even though you went through the proper channels to receive your diagnosis, you just can't seem to shake the shock. You may be wondering, how did this happen? Can I do something to change it, such as taking to another doctor, or perhaps two or three doctors? Denial will keep you from accepting and getting your child the proper help because you're seeking to justify the autistic characteristics with something else. Why denial? Because it's unknown. You don't want to believe it. It can't be true. You don't have the time for it. Maybe the child is having a bad month. It don't run in the family, or maybe it's just a phase. Let me tell you, the longer you take to accept the diagnosis, the more precious time you're losing. Early intervention is key. The bad part of denial is that it will cause you to make excuses. If your child's future is worth anything, you'll stop making excuses. Anger, the emotion stopping you from taking control of the situation. Once you go through denial, anger usually sets in. And you're like, why me? What did I do? Why isn't the mom down the street that's always hanging out? Why isn't her child autistic? Why does my child have to be autistic? You're angry because of your child's behaviors. You don't know how to control their behaviors at this time. You're embarrassed, especially if you're outside in the public. Your child has a meltdown, is on the floor for 5 minutes, and you cannot control the child. There's a lack of communication between you and the child. The child has some mental delays or can have mental delays. There's a lack of support. Like you have no one to run to, which is the biggest part of it all. But you have to express your anger in a healthy way so that you can get control over it. And that can be whether it's journaling, going to the gym, talking to your best friend, girls' night out. You have to take control of the situation. Life is 20% what happens and 80% how to deal with it. And let me tell you, you're well within your rights to have these feelings, but you have to take control of it or it will consume you. Guilt, the emotion that places blame that you don't need or deserve. This is when you have a lot of what ifs. What did I do to make this happen? What was my behavior before I knew I was pregnant? What was my behavior when I knew I was pregnant? Am I too old? Was it the vaccinations? You just don't know why your child is autistic and you blame yourself for everything. But it's not your fault, mom. Grief, the emotion preventing you from focusing on what could be. So say, for example, you have a boy. Now, most moms, they imagine having their son growing up, their son getting married, their son having a couple of children, giving them a grandchild or two, and they move out the house and life is normal. Now, once you have a child that's autistic, you don't know what the future is going to be like. So now you're focusing on, oh my gosh, is he ever going to have friends? Will he ever be able to have a girlfriend? Will he ever have a job? Will he ever be able to live independently? Will I ever have grandchildren? So you're grieving what life could be because now you don't know. And I believe that this emotion of grief happens in multiple phases in this journey. Do you want to finally get a solid plan in place for how to manage life with your child on the autism spectrum? So what's your number one takeaway so far? I will give you a few moments to think about this. So your top 4 challenges as a mom of a child on the autism spectrum: number 1, denial, which keeps you from accepting your child's diagnosis. 2, anger, which keeps you from taking control of the situation to get your child the help they need. 3, guilt, which keeps you feeling depressed because you are blaming yourself and have no one to talk to. 4, grief, which keeps you anxious about the quality of life your child will have. Your solution: the BTH Stress Management Method for Autism Moms, my exclusive 3-step system for managing the mental and emotional stress that is common for parents with children on the autism spectrum. My exclusive 3-step system for managing the mental and emotional stress that is common for parents with children on the autism spectrum: 1, self-awareness; 2, self-care; 3, support. Would you like access to expert resources, a support group, and an emotional wellness coach to help you through this process? You have 2 options. 1, figure it out on your own. 2, get guidance and support. It's decision time. Can I show you how I can help you today? The BTH Stress Management Program for Autism Moms. Learn how to apply my exclusive 3-step system for managing the mental and emotional stress that is common for parents with children on the autism spectrum, and get the emotional support you need. Self-awareness, self-care, support. What's included in this program? 1, live expert trainings and group coaching. So I will be bringing in special guests that will be able to answer your questions, whether they're IEP, whether they're therapists, whether they're psychiatrists, whether they're ABA therapists. We will have professional and expert trainings in this group. Number 2, support group and private online community. So anyone that is interested in a program, we will have a private support group where you'll be able to talk to me, you'll be able to talk to everyone else that's there, and you'll be able to engage in the content that's there. 3, proven stress management techniques and coping methods. So we're going to learn how to handle and deal with the stress and how to cope not only with our child's feelings, but with our feelings and dealing with the stress. Remember, we're still moms, we're still wives, we're still employees, we're still business owners, we're still students in school. So we have so many things on our plate that add a special needs child, and it's just like a lot. Parenting resources specifically for autism moms. So a lot of times, resources that may work for parents with quote-unquote neurotypical children, like coping methods for them may not work for us because we're dealing with a lot. And even if your child has all the help that they need right now, the services in place, the child is autistic, whether they're low functioning, middle functioning, high functioning, the symptoms never go away, and it's always a challenging day. Every day is a challenging day. Plus, you'll receive daily journaling prompts to help you prioritize your mental health and emotional and self-care. You'll receive a monthly 30-minute one-on-one coaching call with me, and you'll receive daily check-ins in our private online community to ensure that you feel supported and not alone. So, are you ready to finally get the emotional support and parenting resources you need to successfully manage life with your child on an autism spectrum? The BTH Stress Management Program for Autism Moms. What is the cost of this program? So, this 6-month program is valued at over $5,000. But I'm offering this 6-month program to you today for the cost of only $1,800. As a special offer for joining this webinar, you can join the program today for only $1,500, which is $300 off. Pay in full today and join the 6-month program for only $1,500, $300 off. Need a payment plan? Not a problem. Make 6 monthly payments of $300 when you join today. So what's included in the program? Let's review this again. Live expert trainings and group coaching. So not only will I be conducting trainings, but I will be bringing in experts, 6 different experts throughout the course of this training. Support group and private online community. We will have our own private support group where no one can get into this community. 3, proven stress management techniques and coping methods. So we will have stress management techniques and coping methods that's specific for autism moms. 4, parenting resources specifically for autism moms. You cannot get these resources anywhere else, or these methods that we're using or these resources that we're using, it don't just work for parents with neurodevelopmental, it works for us and us only. Plus, you'll receive daily journaling prompts to help you prioritize your mental and emotional health and self-care. You'll receive monthly 30-minute one-on-one coaching calls with me. You'll receive daily check-ins in our private online community to ensure that you feel supported and not alone. So, are you ready to finally get the emotional support and parenting resources you need to successfully manage your life with child on the autism spectrum? Email me at info@makeitfunnyc.com for the payment link to join the program today. This special offer is only valid for the next 48 hours, so email me today to reserve your spot. I would like to thank you so much for attending this webinar. I truly hope that you took away something from here and that you tell someone else about it. So thank you so much. Once again, email me at info@makeitfunnyc.com for the payment link to join the program today.